Alright, so spoilers for episode 13 of season 8. So this episode was amazing. It was basically everything I was hoping it would be based on all of my predictions in the past videos. The battle itself was a lot shorter than I thought it would be. I think it lasted like 10 minutes, maybe like 15 minutes. But the payoff, the aftermath, more than made up for it. So we're getting a lot of Morgan because he's clearly moving on to Fear the Walking Dead at the end of this season. This episode started off with Morgan seeing ghosts of Gavin, who was the savior commander he killed back at the kingdom. Gavin was probably one of the better saviors because he was the most reasonable out of all of them, especially when he was put alongside Jared, who also didn't die in this episode. Gavin kept saying, "You know what it is," almost to a comical effect if you don't get what that's referencing, or something along those lines. You'd think I would remember from how frequently it was sprinkled throughout this episode. That phrase is a reference from an earlier season where Morgan was still trying to find himself, where he was trying to adapt after losing his son to the walkers. So I think the next episode will be one of Morgan's final moments with Rick and his group, and then it's just going to be him set off to Fear the Walking Dead. Likely. When we finally really get to see how proficient the Kingdom Doctor was, she had knowledge on surgery and had some really good protocol on how to treat people in a post-apocalyptic world. I really do like Siddiq as a character now. He's actually someone that wants to do the right thing. He's like the most ideal person in The Walking Dead. He hasn't been like corrupted yet somehow. He's a very valuable person for Carl to have saved. And holy crap, I never expected Simon to have so much disdain for the prisoners, especially after his reaction from seeing one of the saviors in a coffin. I still partly believe it was an act. Like it wouldn't make sense for Simon to make Maggie think she has the upper hand by having the captured saviors. It's all strategy. But Simon saying out loud to all the people in the hilltop, including the saviors, that the captured saviors are damaged goods, that was pretty dark. The contrast between Negan and Simon is staggering. Simon just isn't a great leader, at least not when you compare it to Negan. Negan would have wanted the saviors back because people are valuable in the post-apocalyptic world. They're especially valuable when they serve you, as in Negan's whole regime. So during the battle, of course, many people are hurt by the saviors, a lot more than I would have guessed. I knew the infected weapons played a role, but I didn't know they played this much of a role because the scene right after the relatively short battle was incredible, and it actually lasted longer than the battle itself. But speaking of that battle, Dwight is definitely going to be joining Rick's group by the end of the season. There's just no way he can't. Simon wanted more of a group effort from Dwight, as he said it, because Dwight was holding back. He didn't want to hurt the Hilltop people. All of the Hilltop people that Dwight killed or wounded never turned either, because he purposely used untainted bolts. Of course, that hasn't been revealed in the show yet. I'm just basing it off the comics. The episode is left off with Tara and Daryl thinking Dwight went back with the saviors. I mean, he did pass up on an opportunity to kill Simon, opting to shoot Tara instead. Tara, as seen in the end of the episode, was sympathetic with Dwight. She didn't hate Dwight for shooting her, specifically, saying karma's a bitch, because she was the one that pushed Dwight away from joining Rick's group, from becoming more of like one of the good guys, if you would. So we also got a scene afterwards with Maggie and Rick where Maggie's hatred was shown to have not waned at all, that she truly does hate Negan, of course, out of all the saviors, because Negan killed Glenn all those episodes ago. But the best scene in the episode by far was when everyone started turning by I think it was the second night. The passage of time was shown through the use of digital and some analog clocks. Every few hours we saw people like Tobin slowly succumbing to their infection. Tobin seemed okay the first night. We got a scene with him and Carol, kind of reminding us basically that Carol and Tobin actually had a kind of relationship at some point. That happened such a long time ago, I totally forgot about it. Which, of course, made his rampage afterwards all the more impactful. It does look like Tobin was the first person to turn. He was the first person that was shown to turn. Tobin's death was actually kind of dramatic. He just stopped breathing, like he sucked in air and then just dead. For him and most others, I think it only took an hour or two before them to reanimate. Everyone that got cut by the savior's weapons turning like that reminded me of a classic zombie movie. I was amazed that no one woke up from the guy falling down the stairs making all this loud noise, all the constant, walker noises, the growling. No one woke up from that. That seems kind of strange. But Tobin was clearly the MVP of the zombie group. He had to have had the most kills out of all the walkers there, by far. It also really did not help that everyone slept so close together. They were just in basically a ball. I suppose it's a good strategy when your only opponent are people, because people can sneak up on you when you're spread apart. But when you're dealing with walkers who don't go down unless you shoot them in the head, or head trauma, Walkers are something the group has gotten far too used to. They're not prepared. One thing I like to mention, based actually from that, is that who leaves the door open? The door was wide open for Tobin and his friends to sneak in. That's a pretty big oversight on the people living there. Always lock your doors in the zombie apocalypse. Near the end of the episode, of course, we got the scene with the prisoners, and we finally get to figure out or find out what happens to Jared and all the others. And what I really did expect Jared to die in this episode, but the showrunners, they did not miss up a chance to make him seem even more unlikable as a person. He actually said the screaming from the walkers killing the hilltop was music to his ears. That's pretty effed up. This guy is clearly not going to be leaving Negan's team anytime soon. We also got Henry basically, of course, accidentally letting out all of the prisoners. He's really acting like Carl was in the earlier seasons. And I have a feeling that we're not going to get the chance to have Henry evolve as a character. I feel like he's going to be cannon fodder for perhaps the next season or just at the very end of this season. In the end, we're left with Tara's fate uncertain. I have a feeling, of course, she's not going to die because Dwight would probably use untainted bolts. Many, many Hilltop people were killed by the onslaught and the infection afterwards. Henry, I think, is missing, who is probably the person Carol's going to be looking for in the next episode, along with most of the prisoners Maggie was keeping. So overall, I'd rate this episode in my top 2 for the season, the other being the last episode, actually. The episodes have just been getting better and better as they move along. If AMC keeps doing interesting episodes like this, Season 8 will be leagues ahead of Season 7. Season 7 was literally just Rick's group getting beaten down by Negan's bat. But anyways, I'm going to have some teaser breakdowns tomorrow for episode 14 and some predictions based on the synopsises, now that we know a little bit more about the story, where episode 14, 15, and the finale will go. As always, if you like this video, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.